I am on here with Bryony, and she is my assistant in the More Than a Breathwork training, where we train and certify breathwork facilitators. And we've had an opportunity to work together in many different ways over the years. And I'm really excited to have this conversation with Bryony in reference to how the TOSA method and all of the teachings, all of the practices, all of the methodologies, and really in particular, those steps and stages have impacted your relationships in all of what that means. The word relationship.
Yeah, thank you. So just a small question then.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I would say, even just to begin with, that it's been a tool that I'm using so much, and it's like a tool, like a philosophy, if you like, or sort of a worldview that I use, as well as a process that I follow. And because I've been using it so frequently, and obviously working closely with you and then training other people in this method, it's just become like part of the toolkit that I have, and part of the way in which I am consciously perceiving and working with like what life is bringing me. So first, it's just understanding almost how embedded it is like now in terms of like part of my world. And it's become so embedded because it's just so damn useful, and that it works. And first and foremost, I think the ways in which the TOSA method has impacted my relationships, like firstly, it's my relationship to myself. And I know that, one of the first reasons that I approached you, Keli, in terms of one-to-one work a few years back was that I was experiencing some really deep emotional shifts, and I was coming up hard against the emotions connected to my childhood that were coming up through breath work, and it was almost overwhelming, the depth of them and the magnitude of them and how triggering it felt. And I remember not really knowing what to do with it. And this is what's so incredibly helpful, is the TOSA method as a process has supported me in learning how to navigate and unpack, the emotions that are arising, whether they're really big, like messy ones, or whether they're like smaller, like little niggles or something like, what is that? What am I feeling? It's sort of, we can use it in any situation. And then as I've continued, firstly, like working on myself and learning how to, obviously being with the support of you, Keli, learning how to really meet those emotions, I was in such a better position to then really be there for my family, and also in my close relationships. And for example, what that looks like is, I remember when a few years ago, I've gone through a conscious uncoupling process, and recently, and my husband at the time, his dad had passed away, and it was during the pandemic. So it was, that in of itself was challenging in terms of not being able to see people easily. And I just felt a whole new depth of just ability really to show up for him and witness him and to be there in support of him in that time. And I suppose an important shift was that it was really learning. I'd already known this anyway and been practicing for some time, discerning what is mine and what is someone else's in terms of their emotions. So for example, like what would be my grief and what would be my husband's grief? And then to be curious about, where am I taking his stuff on, and or what does that mean? So if there's something arising for him that I then find challenging, I'm able to take ownership of that and to learn how to like work through that rather than make it about me.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, it's as a philosophy and a process, it's incredibly helpful for like detangling emotions. And as human beings in relationship, like we are going to be feeling each other's stuff all the time. And just really creating a real clarity and ownership and taking responsibility for my emotions in an empowering way, and making space for them whilst also being able to create space for his stuff at the same time was incredibly helpful.
Yeah.
And then as we've moved through, the conscious uncoupling process, I mean, it's like there were so many points within that where there was lots of emotions rising up, or like fear or grief or anger, and it'd been so easy for that to tip over into something whereby I might be much more reactive and not able to like take control of that part of me, and then say or do something that I would then regret, or I'm kind of acting out in a way that I know is not in service to us and like our ambition to decouple. And so yeah, I'm just so thankful that this is part of the toolkit, because it meant that I could keep just meeting what was arising in the moment and keep navigating that. And as we know from the TOSA method, it's being curious about the emotions that are being felt in the moment, like what is being shown that's relevant to what's happening right now, to like the emotions connected to what's unfolding right now in this moment, and a reaction based on that, versus like there's also some legacy stuff coming up, as in deeper wounds, or other times or places where like similar situations have happened, and that's also getting triggered in the moment. And I know the TOSA methods really supported me in cultivating greater clarity and presence, and a curiosity for what's unfolding, and to also trust that as well, which is huge, because it's so easy for me to still judge my emotions, or I should be feeling a certain way, or I shouldn't be feeling this, and to sort of trust in what's coming up, even if it's really uncomfortable or in some way unsightly, or some kind of emotion that maybe it feels challenging to feel, or some part of me doesn't want to feel that, but to really trust that it has a purpose, that there's a need connected to it. And with this process, I've been able to like really work with my emotions on such a deep level that I can value them so much more now, rather than, it's like rather than feel a victim to that, it's like I can really see how these things are in service, to my growth, and being kind of signposted to things that are important to me.
Absolutely. And, of course, being in the world of trauma and working in the world of trauma and being trauma informed and trained, this deep understanding that trauma builds on trauma, and this snowball of stress. And, what I heard when you were sharing about your relationship and that ownership and that, ability to process it and lean in, is that you were breaking the cycle, the legacy part, but even, how many people go through an uncoupling and it's traumatizing. And then if they have children, it's even more trauma for children. And yeah, what I just really acknowledging you and doing this work in order to, uncouple with a greater sense of presence and allowing and honor and respect, and yeah, connection through a difficult thing that looks like, disconnect, but you can actually create connection through that process of letting go.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, thank you, and thank you for seeing me and acknowledging me. And my parents had a very acrimonious like separation, and so it wasn't modeled for me, in terms of good endings, and it was all like uncharted territory. But I knew that if I just kept slowing down and like listening to my body, giving time and space to sort of feel things and process it using the TOSA method as I go, it was like I could sort of keep navigating each stage of that process just as best I could. And we had quite a few people around us, like friends, all commenting, saying like, we've never seen anyone do this, and we want to say congratulations, because people are almost like, we're sad for you, but also it seems to be going really well, are you okay? And it's like, yeah, I mean, it doesn't mean that it's not challenging, but it's that it doesn't have to be just loads of suffering, and we're just like slinging being reactive and like slinging at each other, being really reactive and wounding each other further. And in the end, it was like we were supporting each other's rise out of what we'd created. It's like consciously dismantling, like lovingly destroying what we'd created in order so that we could both like grow and expand. So it was ultimately a really loving process, even if it was really hard as well, but made so much easier by having things like the TOSA method as a philosophy and a process to use.
Beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
And anything else, that you want to share?
Yeah, so also just commenting that, noticing within my family as well, and how there's a lot of work that I've done already over the years with within my family and with healing relationships. And I think I'd maybe, looking back, not necessarily reached a plateau, but it was like I'd kind of gone as far as I could go with the tools that I had. And in the last year in particular, there's been a lot happening within my family that's been really challenging, with people being poorly, family members nearly passing away. And it's given me a whole new set of challenges and opportunities to like deeply practice, what we teach, and being able to show up for others whilst also not neglecting my own needs, or being able to like lovingly uphold certain boundaries and communicate really clearly and consciously. Like, this is also been part of the TOSA method. And it's meant that, for example, like I had a family friend I saw recently, and she said, like, God, this has been a horrible year for you, so horrible, because I had my divorce come through. I said I've had family members be sick and nearly passing away, amongst other things. And I sort of paused for a moment and was like, because for me it hasn't felt that way. And that's because I've been processing the emotions as I've gone along. So rather than them constantly being there, sort of dominating my experience and feeling overwhelmed by them and swamped by them, and, it's like, I can be held space for by people like you, Keli, be a hot mess, crumble, really feel my feelings in a constructive, safe way. And so it's meant that I've experienced so much joy this year as well, and been able to really see the important lessons that come with these challenges as well, but in a really authentic way, not just saying that because it's a nice thing to say. We go through challenges. No, it's like to really deeply be like, this is like a really important time. And so I'm just so thankful, because it's been a very hard year, and it's been a really incredible year. And it was interesting because only in that moment, with being presented with someone having a certain view of how my life must be based on what's been happening, was I able to think, like, actually it's not felt awful. Like, yes, it's been very hard, and also I've been able to be present to so much of the magic, and this also understanding like life is happening for me, not to me, including when there's really big challenges happening. So I am definitely embodying this work at deeper levels, and it's not only helped me maintain my sanity during this time, but then it's actually supported me, if anything, in thriving, in terms of really moving through some big things, and sailing on stormy seas, right? But I've got got the right equipment and the right support to help me navigate that.
Beautiful. And that's ultimately what the TOSA method is, right? It's that 5-layer approach to really conscious healing and our conscious evolution, and breaking the cycle and using obstacles as the opportunities that they are. It's what I stand for. It's even what the TOSA is an acronym for, the other side of average. And it was kind of me reflecting on what has allowed me my entire life to take really difficult situations and use them to, for my own growth, my own understanding, developing an inner sense of presence and peace, even in and amongst what looks like trauma, what looks like, stress, what looks like deep challenges. And that's on the other side of average, because most people are really trapped, feeling trapped in those, don't have the right support, don't have the right tools to utilize them. And yet it's possible.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is, not only then am I so grateful to be able to see what's possible for myself, and then the ripple effect to like my family and my friends and my community. We often say in the training, the more than a breathwork training, about how we can only meet people as deeply like as we've met ourselves. And it's like the more deeply that I've been, meeting myself and expanding my container for me to hold, my emotions and witness myself, that's mirrored in the work I'm doing. And it's so interesting, like the clients that, coming to me. And so, professionally speaking, as a coach and as a space holder, I have so much more like confidence in really meeting people where they're at, and really holding space for deeper, like more profound circumstances that people are moving through, knowing I don't need to obviously try and fix, save, or solve them, and really trusting deeply in the pain. And as I am supported in deeply meeting my pain and like the genuine gifts that are there, then I can, be of greater service to others in helping them to safely like meet their pain as well.
So beautiful. Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you. The world needs so much more of that. And yeah, really, really honoring you being part of the TOSA method, and every, and embodying it. I think that's the key thing, really embodying it so that you can also extend that in personal relationships and professional relationships, and really support people.
Yeah. My absolute honor. It really is. So thank you so much, Keli, and like deep bow to you and the work you do, and like the way in which you serve so many. So thank you.
And for anyone that is looking to work within the TOSA method, you can go to theothersideofaverage.com to find out more of some of the courses that are coming up. And in particular, there's one coming up on December 9th that is called Creating Radically Conscious Relationships. So utilizing the TOSA method specifically in relationships. So and thank you, Bryony.
Yeah, thank you so much, Keli. Thank you. Bye.